2 Fort is currently the most popular map in TF2, and it isn't close. At almost any given hour, you can check the amount of players on each map on teamwork.tf, and 2 Fort is nearly guaranteed to have more than 3 times the amount of players on the next most popular map. For a while, these stats just boggled my mind. Even with 6,700 hours in the game, I could never understand what 2 Fort brought to the table that other maps couldn't. My plan was to join 2 Fort servers and observe, try to find out what exactly about this map makes it a complete magnet for players to keep coming back to over and over, since that's what confused me the most. If a map has a sudden jump in popularity, then there can be reasons for it, but 2 Fort's popularity repeats itself every day, so there must be something I'm missing. And literally the first game I joined, I found myself in the enemy base amongst these kind fellows. There was this pyro who really loved using this teleporter. This other guy who kept repeatedly chilling in this one stair room to check for spies for like 20 minutes. There was another pyro who pretty much just did sweeps of the entire base over and over, making sure there's no intruders. And of course, the engineer who happily builds a sentry in the same spot over and over. I couldn't figure it out. I destroyed this guy's sentry once and trick stabbed the teleporter pyro, but 1 minute later everything was back up where it started. It didn't make any sense. I gave up my research that day, hoping for a new perspective the next. But no matter what, my studies led me to the same spot, over and over. There was another sentry gun, but no engineer in sight. I took it out to bait the engineer in so I could study their behavior. After a few minutes he returned, but he never left, keeping a watchful eye over the area. But I knew he couldn't wait here forever, so I resorted to forbidden tactics.
Put dispenser here! Help me! Put dispenser here! Put dispenser here!
The engineer was frightened, but I persisted. His poor little body couldn't hold up under the intense mental pressure, and he gave out. Still, I had no answers. I ended up sat up in my bed, trying my hardest to figure out why these players kept doing what they did. But it was too much. I couldn't understand. The next day, though, it clicked. Firstly, explaining why players choose 2 Fort in the first place isn't actually too difficult. Any new player to a game is naturally going to be attracted to things that they're already familiar with, and as such, when choosing a game mode to play, capture the flag is a common pick since it's a very easy concept to understand. And within the CTF game mode, 2 Fort is probably the most iconic TF2 map there is. It's the one they see in all the promotional content for the game, the Gmod shorts, the works. With all this considered, playing Capture the Flag on 2 Fort is an easy pick for any new player since it's the most familiar place they can go in a game filled with things that are already new to them. This question though is something I've understood the answer to for a while now already. The question I'm more interested in is this: why do they keep doing it? From a more experienced player's perspective, it's easy for us to assume that after standing still defending for 10 minutes, any player would realize, oh wow, this is really boring, and move on to better maps, but in practice this just isn't the case. To find out why, think about it like this. This is your first game of TF2 ever, and you just joined a game. What do? Remember, you have no concept of Uber building, numbers advantages, loadouts, deathmatch, anything. The only thing you know about the game you're in is that it's Capture the Flag. And the goals in Capture the Flag are as follows: get the enemy intelligence, don't let the enemy get your intelligence. At this point the player has a choice, attack or defend. Most new players who try to get the intelligence on 2 Fort will likely die repeatedly due to the map's incredibly punishing focus on defense, and thus our new player will likely prefer to defend over time. And they'll keep defending, over and over. And hey, you want to know what the most effective way to play Capture the Flag is? Remember, to a new player, all they know is to play the objective, and not let the enemy take their intelligence. What this means is that by sitting in these corners, building these sentries, they're accomplishing their goal of defending as effectively as they can. They're winning right now. This is the face of a winner. And this brings forth the much bigger problem: the game mode and the map. As easy as it is to make fun of players who do nothing but turtle in the intel room for hours on end, who can blame them? They're doing exactly what the map and the game mode tell them to, and they're doing it well. It isn't stimulating to them because it's action-packed or full of diverse game mechanics. It's stimulating because the game actively rewards and encourages this playstyle. Capture the Flag is inherently a problematic game mode because it rewards hyper-defensive and stalemate play, and 2 Fort has those exact same problems. Its close quarters environments and long corridors mean that setting up shop and never moving is the most effective way to play the game. This whole situation is a bit of a nightmare scenario in which both the game mode and the map that are the most appealing to new players are also the same game mode and map that encourage the most defensive, non-dynamic playstyles in the game. Because of that, new players get addicted because playing 2 Fort effectively really isn't that hard. They're consistently rewarded for doing very simple things and barely playing the game. This isn't to say that this is the only reason people play this map. In my time here, I also noticed a few players, often only like 3 at max, who would try to take down the enemy's defenses and take the intel, but it's often a very frustrating task, since the enemy team also likely has a few hyper-defensive players who care about nothing more than locking down their respective rooms or corridors. Sometimes it can be pretty exciting, I admit, to infiltrate an enemy base filled to the brim with sentries and enemies, but there's still more than that to TF2. So what can be done about this? I think much of this can't be solved, as no matter how many changes you make to capture the flag as a game mode, the best way to play 2 Fort will still consist of camping out in your base for as long as possible. Maybe adding a time limit per round would encourage more aggressive play, but I don't think that would entirely solve the issue given we're mostly talking about new players. Other changes on top of that might help other CTF maps become less stalematey, but again, 2 Fort is what 2 Fort is. Not only is its core design already iconic and cemented into Team Fortress history, but the map is so flawed that making it play better would require drastic changes, so much so that it might as well become a different map entirely. That isn't to say other maps aren't also turtley, but even Dust Bowl, the most choke-pointy map in the game, has much more exciting turtle gameplay, as the blue team is almost always going to be trying to push forward and take down your nest. At this point, it's no secret that I really don't like 2 Fort as a map, and if you've come across this video and 2 Fort is your favorite map in the world and it's all you play, go for it. I don't mean to be the old angry uncle who hates fun, but it's just frustrating knowing that so many players only play long hallway, tight corridors, turtle engineer, taunt and spawn, snipe on balcony, fall into the water, take 2 minutes getting back up simulator 2007.